want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. No pain for their disease. Rage is like a weed.
I'm not very good at discussing somber topics like this. It's not usually my thing. I usually try to avoid somber topics at any given moment that I possibly could. But this week was a rough one, and it's pretty much unavoidable. I'm actually live on the PWP Nation Facebook page as we speak right now, and truth be told, I really wish I was making my debut on this page on much better terms. This past week, on Wednesday and on Thursday, the professional wrestling landscape lost two of the most influential figures in the history of the business, that being Terry Funk and Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt. Terry Funk is very, very self-explanatory. Terry Funk was an innovator of extreme, and the style that he wrestled, it's a style that many people nowadays, they model themselves after. Hell, you take a look at Game Changer Wrestling. Game Changer Wrestling is pretty much a promotion full of Terry Funk. Every other individual that comes through that promotion emulates Terry Funk and the hardcore style that he embodied throughout his time in the wrestling industry. Terry Funk and everything that he gave to that business and the path that he took to build the legacy that he's built, it is something that is to be wildly respected and appreciated. Not a lot of people are willing to do what Terry Funk did to himself in order to entertain the people that paid their hard-earned money to sit in those seats in that arena. He's had a lot of memorable moments throughout his career. Talk about the most memorable one to me is the dumpster match with Cactus Jack when he was Chainsaw Charlie in WWE. And we had the New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. I can't imagine how Billy Gunn's feeling going into a big match tomorrow at All In. Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, they closed the dumpster on Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie and flipped it over the stage on Raw is War. God knows how many years ago, at least 20 plus years ago. Chainsaw Charlie in WWE, and then he went to ECW at a rather old age for a professional wrestler, did Terry Funk, and he was not slowing down whatsoever. He threw himself through tables and lit barbed wire 2x4s on fire. Do you want to know what the most impressive thing about Terry Funk is to me? The most impressive thing about Terry Funk to me is the fact that after everything that he gave to the wrestling business from a physical standpoint, to then retire and he battled through multiple illnesses, multiple stages of dementia, I believe. And the fact that he still managed to live till he was nearly 80 years old, just shy of 80, nearly 8 decades he spent on this earth. And he spent the last 5 years, I would say, battling severe illnesses and dementia. That to me is the most impressive thing about Terry Funk. That to me is grit. To me, the fact that he fought and he fought and he fought and he fought and he was so determined to live as long as he could. He fought until he couldn't fight anymore. That to me is the most impressive thing that Terry Funk has ever done. It takes strength. It takes willpower. Terry Funk was not only a warrior inside of the ring, but he was a warrior outside of the ring as well. That to me speaks to the type of man that Terry Funk really was. One of the toughest individuals that you will ever come across. And I know for a fact that his family and his friends are completely heartbroken. I know that Mick Foley was absolutely distraught. And then there's Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, that one hit me hard just because of how unexpected it was. Just how it was popped on us like that. I remember on Thursday evening, I was getting ready for dinner. My dad was making some dinner. And I got a notification from Paul. I got a notification from Paul, a.k.a. the shooter. And Dee Dee, she knows Paul. Paul's a very nice guy. And Paul sent me a photo. Paul sent me a photo on Facebook Messenger. Now, if you guys have Facebook Messenger, you would know that Facebook Messenger, when it says that someone sent you a photo, it doesn't show you the specifics in the photo. It doesn't show you the actual photo itself. It just says so-and-so sent a photo. And then he followed up with the caption of, "It's legit. Triple H just confirmed it." So I'm thinking to myself, what is he talking about? What does he mean it's legit? What does he mean Triple H confirmed it? So I took a look at Facebook Messenger, and it was a post from Triple H on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying that he got a phone call from Mike Rotunda, Bray Wyatt's father, to confirm that his son, Wyndham, had passed away. I didn't know what to think. I was angry. I was sad. I was confused. I was distraught. I was stunned. Every adjective that you could possibly conjure up from the dictionary. That's what I felt. So I closed Facebook Messenger and I took a look on X. And sure enough, there was just an outpouring of support, an outpouring of sadness, because what was said was true. I even took a look at Triple H's account itself, and sure enough, the tweet was not fabricated. I cursed as loud as I possibly could. I'm sure everyone in my house heard me. And my dad said, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" And I said, "Bray Wyatt just passed away." And he looked at me and he had this shocked look on his face. And he said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "No. Triple H just confirmed it. He got a phone call from his father." I could talk about a lot of memorable moments from Bray Wyatt's career. But I think that the biggest thing that Bray Wyatt did for me was he really drew my father back into professional wrestling. My dad, for the first 5 years that I became a wrestling fan, I was the mark in the family. I was the mark in the family, and I was watching weekly. It was a religion to me. My dad watched very casually, and he was only putting on the shows because I watched the shows. He was only going to the events because he was taking me to the events because I wasn't old enough to go by myself. He didn't watch pro wrestling like I watched pro wrestling since Stone Cold Steve Austin retired, which was his favorite superstar of all time. And it was in July, I think it was July 7th of 2013. I had just graduated grammar school. And we were in our living room and we watched the Wyatt family debut and they took out Kane. And we started to see Bray Wyatt cut these promos and we just sat there and the aura that just oozed off of the television screen and the presence that we felt from Bray Wyatt. Whenever he spoke, my dad pointed and he said, "That's the guy to watch out for. This guy's got something. This guy's going to be a megastar." And he just captivated my father like he's never been captivated before. The original Wyatt family was perhaps one of the best modern day factions that we've seen. And they didn't do enough with them. So many memorable moments, so many memorable matches. Bray's matches with Bryan Danielson at the 2014 and the 2020 Royal Rumble. His matches with Chris Jericho. His matches with Seth Rollins. His matches with Jon Moxley. His Hell in a Cell match with Roman Reigns back in October of 2015. Probably one of his top 3 greatest matches of all time. That I would probably put as number 3. Number 2 is probably the match with Bryan at the Rumble, which was the only good match on that pay-per-view. And then the Shield and the Wyatt family. I remember that. It was February 2014 at the Elimination Chamber. Should have happened at WrestleMania, that match. And even though it happened a month and a half too early, and even though it happened at the Elimination Chamber, that turned out to be, and to this day, the greatest 6-man tag team match in the history of WWE, bar none. And there has not been a single 6-man tag that's been able to top that. That was special. That was a special moment for WWE with the 2 hottest factions at the time crossing paths. I think one of the biggest moments for me with Bray Wyatt was Extreme Rules 2014. And I reference that because it was May 4th, 2014 in the Izod Center. They closed it down. They should really reopen it again. May 4th, 2014 in the Izod Center. It was Extreme Rules 2014. I had been 15 for a month. And lo and behold, it was close. And me, my dad, and my uncle, we decided to dress up as the Wyatt family. My uncle was Eric Rowan. My dad was Luke Harper. And you guessed it, I was Bray Wyatt. We rolled into the parking garage and we had people wanting to take pictures with us. for the Wyatt family cosplay. I had the fedora. I still have the fedora. I still have the fedora after 10 years. 10 years, nearly, to this point. I still have the fedora. I still have the lantern that I used. I have the Hawaiian shirt. The beard. I even cut up an old glove. To match Bray Wyatt's glove. Taking pictures, and I got to see Bray Wyatt beat John Cena inside of a steel cage that night. I don't have any photos or videos from that pay-per-view because I left my old iPod Touch in my father's car when we went to go inside for the event. I have no photographic or video memory. And if I did, I already lost my iPod Touch, so I wouldn't have had it anyway. But yet I remember that pay-per-view. I remember that show very, very well. And I got to see Bray Wyatt, while dressed as Bray Wyatt, beat John Cena inside of a steel cage. One of the most fun experiences that I had as a professional wrestling fan. His return last year at Extreme Rules 2022. I remember where I was. I remember what I was doing. I remember who I was with. I was with Jess and Roman. Legitimately right down the block from my house. I walked to their house. I legitimately walked to their house, and Jess still offered to take me home because she didn't want me to walk home in the cold. Even though it was a 4-minute walk. I walked to their house and I got to share that moment. I got to share his return with probably my two biggest supporters. The two biggest supporters that I've ever had in the history of this brand. I got to share that with them. They're probably watching me right now. Two biggest supporters that have watched me from day one, and they're still watching to this day. I think probably one of the craziest things that happened to me that really intertwined with Bray Wyatt was when he first won the WWE Championship in February of 2017. I remember that. It was February 12th, 2017. And before the Elimination Chamber, I went live on Periscope, if you guys remember that. I went live on Periscope. I went live on Periscope on one of my old Twitter accounts, and I did a little preview and predictions live stream for the Elimination Chamber. And that was the night, mere hours later, where Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship. And the reason why that little live stream on Periscope was so significant, because that was what started this all. That live stream was the first ever live stream. Somewhere it's lost in hyperspace right now. The first ever live stream that I ever did. That was what kickstarted my run, my tenure as DJ Storms. And that was the night Bray Wyatt became the WWE Champion, his first World Championship. I wouldn't even have known that would have intertwined with Bray Wyatt so much. It's so weird how some of my biggest moments and biggest happenings as a professional wrestling fan, they happened at the same point where Bray Wyatt had some of his major moments. Came back as the Fiend, screwed him up. And then they ruined his third run too. His third run was probably the worst. But if anything, if Bray Wyatt did one thing, in his third run with the company, and after last night, it was very, very obvious. If there was one thing that Bray Wyatt did in his third run with the company, he made LA Knight. LA Knight and that feud with Bray Wyatt elevated LA Knight to the next level. no matter how bad, no matter how terrible that match at the Royal Rumble was, no matter how bad the pitch black match at the Rumble was, LA Knight was a made man coming out of that feud. And LA Knight is as popular as he is now. He is a superstar on the rise. He's a superstar in the making because of a young legend named Wyndham Rotunda. But do you want to know what the greatest thing about Wyndham Rotunda is to me? The greatest thing about Wyndham Rotunda to me is his generosity and his motto to make sure that everyone has a good time. I read a tweet from Mustafa Ali on X stating that Mustafa told a story that he apologized to Bray Wyatt for dragging him and Matt Hardy on the 205 Live Cruiserweight Tour back in 2018. And Bray Wyatt said, no, do not apologize. We are all here to help out each other. Bray Wyatt didn't have to give Mustafa Ali an ounce of his time. Bray was already at a point in his career where he didn't have to give back or say anything or give anyone any attention if he didn't want to, but yet he still took the time out of his day to ensure to Mustafa Ali that this isn't about one person. This is about everyone. This is a team effort. We're working as a unit to put on the best possible show and to have fun in a world where a lot of people are selfish and a lot of people are manipulative and a lot of people basically care only for themselves. Bray Wyatt was the exception to that. Wyndham Rotunda was the exception to that, and how much he gave back to legitimately everyone that he came in contact with. That was perhaps the greatest thing about Bray Wyatt. I don't understand how you ruin such a creative individual. And it really goes back to what I've said about how WWE just does not care to build up any new stars. And if they don't like you, they're going to bury you. Wyndham's career will always go down as a what if, a what could have been. Him and the Wyatt family should have absolutely walked out of SummerSlam of 2014 with all the gold. Wyatt should have walked out with the world title, and Harper and Rowan should have walked out with the tag team titles. They broke up the Wyatt family way too soon. You could have gotten so much more mileage out of the Wyatt family and the Shield when they were feuding. You could have gotten so much more mileage out of those two factions when they were at their peak. You could have had them go into next year's WrestleMania, at WrestleMania 31, feuding against each other in yet another major match. Bray Wyatt leaves behind 4 children. 4 children, his sister, his brother, his father. Terry Funk leaves behind so many friends, family, and colleagues. I'm not really going to go over SmackDown in depth like I would normally, but I will say that the video packages and the promos and the matches, everything regarding SmackDown last night and the tribute to Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, everything about that show last night was beautiful. Everything about that show would have made Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, if they were still here, would have made them proud. WWE did a wonderful job highlighting and celebrating the lives of a Hall of Famer and undoubtedly the most creative mind of the modern era in the history of professional wrestling. In this era right now, we may never, ever see another mind like Bray Wyatt. And we may never see an innovator, an innovator of violence, an innovator of extreme, such a trailblazer, and a man that has inspired so many. We may never see another man like Terry Funk. My thoughts, my prayers, my condolences, my heart goes out to every single individual that was deeply affected by the loss of Wyatt and the loss of Funk. My heart is with their family, their friends, their acquaintances, their associates, anyone that had the pleasure of coming in contact with these individuals. May they all rest peacefully. May they rest peacefully. May they rest in paradise. And may God give all of their family, friends, acquaintances, associates, may God give them all the strength to make it through this difficult time. Because they don't deserve to go through this pain, and Funk and Wyatt did not deserve to go out the way that they did. Funk deserved to enjoy his retirement. Funk deserved to enjoy the latter years of his life rather than battling multiple illnesses. And Wyatt, he had his whole life ahead of him. There will never, ever be another Terry Funk, and there will never, ever be another Bray Wyatt. And I'll end it with a thank you to both Terry Funk and a thank you to Bray Wyatt. Because without them, wrestling may not be what it is today. The impact that those two individuals left on the wrestling industry will be felt forever. Gone, but never forgotten. I'm a little bit more toned down. I'm a little bit more relaxed. I am going to do what I do, and I appreciate every single one of you for stopping by. I appreciate Dylan and Paul, Hoolagrim, Dee Dee, Mac the Giants fan, Adam Carl, everyone that's watching on Facebook, everybody that's watching on YouTube. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I thank you all, and we're going to do what we usually do, and we're going to get through this stream. This is my flagship show, the Lightning Flash update for Saturday, August 26th, 2023, the final LFU of August as we head into the month of September. I got plenty of content coming to you guys next week. Starting tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow is the rewind for AEW All In at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Immediately following the show, I will go live at 6:30, and we will go over what is a much-needed show and a celebration of pro wrestling, something to help us get through this very, very, very difficult week for us as wrestling fans. All In, it feels like it's going to be a big show. It's going to deliver big time, and we're all going to watch. We're going to enjoy it. Rewind for All In is coming to you guys tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday at 8:30, August 29th, is the rundown for WWE Payback. Wednesday, I got a special double feature for you guys. I will be uploading my vlog from ISPW The Heat Is On, which was on Thursday. And on ISPW, they actually had a dinner before the show. I didn't attend the dinner. But all those wrestlers, they got the notification that Bray was gone during the dinner. And 90 minutes later, the promoter, Tommy Fierro, shout out to him, Tommy Fierro did a 10-bell salute for both Bray and Terry Funk. And then in the first match of the night, Bull James, he defeated TJ Epics with a Sister Abigail. So I have it on good authority that I was at the legitimate first tribute show. For Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk in the world, legitimately 90 minutes after Bray Wyatt's death. That vlog will be up on Wednesday afternoon. And then Wednesday evening, I will be joining Sarah Hapka and I will be joining Earl Cole on the AEW Dynamite Watch-Along. I will be joining them on the AEW Dynamite Watch-Along We're going to have a fun time, and it's going to be a very, very, very nice place for everyone to hang out. And we're going to talk about the fallout of All In. We're going to have a fun time. Thursday, I got a very early stream. Thursday, I got an early stream at 4 p.m. Early stream at 4 p.m., and it is the rundown for All Elite Wrestling All Out. Next Thursday, 4 p.m., the rundown for All Out. I will not be doing an LFU next Saturday. Because next Saturday, I will be in North Carolina. I will be in North Carolina for my cousin Andrew's wedding. Shout out to Andrew. But I will be back next Tuesday. For the rewind for WWE Payback. Tuesday, September 5th. And then on September 7th, I will be live for the rewind for AEW All Out. So it's a busy couple weeks in terms of brand work. Plenty of good material coming to you guys. And once again, I thank all of you for joining me here. Follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And follow me on Instagram as well, at HistoryMakerDJS. Once again, that is both at HistoryMakerDJS on both Instagram and X. You can add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. All those links are in the description. You can also like the official DJ Storms business page, which we are streaming live on right now. And I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, once again, all those links are in the description, as well as the link to the rundown for AEW All In from this past Tuesday. I streamed live on YouTube, and the rundown was a major success. Go check that out if you missed it. The link is in the description. And if you're watching on Facebook, the link is in the caption. You can also check out all of the Hardcore Sports social media links. They're all in the description, including Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. We're live on the YouTube channel. We're live on the Twitter page. And we're live on the Twitch account as well. And I want to give a special shout out to Jay Leto, PWP Nation. Go subscribe to the PWP Nation Facebook page. We are live on that right now. We're going to have a good time. And go and check out the PWP Nation website as well. Jay Leto is a hard worker. And him and I will be in the flesh live at 90s WrestleCon, coming to you guys at the end of September 30th in the Rockaway Mall in Rockaway, New Jersey. And my final shout out I would like to give is to Brittany K. Brittany K, who is a major Bray Wyatt fan, a massive Bray Wyatt fan, probably one of the biggest Bray Wyatt fans out there. Bray Wyatt saved her life, and Bray Wyatt gave her a purpose in this life. She does beautiful designs on her iPad from scratch, and she is doing a lot of Bray Wyatt sales, and all the proceeds will be going directly to Bray Wyatt's family. So if you guys want to support Bray Wyatt, go and follow her on Twitter and Instagram. Her Twitter is at BrittanyK5150, and her Instagram is Brittany K Designs. Go and buy a design for her, and all those proceeds will go directly to the family of Bray Wyatt and all those deeply affected by his passing. Like the stream, as per usual. Like the stream no matter where you're watching it on, whether it be Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. It's now X, or YouTube. Share it out. Share the stream out on all platforms of social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok. Share it out. Share it out. Get as many people in here as possible. We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk pro wrestling. And of course, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, whether you're watching on my YouTube channel or the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel, and hit the notifications bell, and you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube, and you already know why. It's the best time to be on YouTube when DJ Storms is live on YouTube. Let's get right to the festivities here. News, rumors, and reports. We got a lot. I got a report from Fightful stating that there have never been any significant creative plans for Odyssey Jones ever since getting drafted. If you guys even remember, Odyssey Jones from NXT got called up in the draft, and there was absolutely zero creative plans for him. I could have figured that out. They did not need to specify that. Zero creative plans for him. He has not made one single appearance. We're sitting on August 27th. We're going into September in legitimately less than a week, and there has not been one single appearance from Odyssey Jones ever since getting drafted at the beginning of May. Not even the beginning of May, at the end of April. Not one single appearance, not one single creative plan. And I ask, why did you even call him up? Why did you even call him up? Odyssey Jones was in no way, shape, or form ready to get called up to the main roster, and you could have actually gotten a little bit more mileage out of him in NXT. There was plenty of things for Odyssey Jones to do in NXT. Who's to say Odyssey Jones could not have become a North American champion or an NXT champion in due time with the proper booking and the proper time that he could have spent in NXT building his craft and becoming better? Why did you even call him up? Calling up Odyssey Jones with absolutely no creative plans, that is a Vince McMahon move right down to the very last letter. I really don't understand why the WWE calls up these people with absolutely no intent of using them, and yet they still have to show up at every single show. At least with Tony Khan, if he's not using someone, they're not coming to television. Wardlow has not been seen on television in God knows how long. He should be on television, but they're not using him, so he's not going to the shows. If you do not have an intent on using these individuals, why are you even calling them up to the main roster to begin with? He's not even being used as another body to put people over. This is one of the main things that WWE does that just leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth. This is why no one trusts them, because they call up individuals with no intent of using them. Odyssey Jones should have never been called up from NXT if you were going to do nothing. Moving on here, I actually got a report from Sean Ross Sapp regarding Britt Baker. Britt Baker is, of course, headed into a major match tomorrow. She is in a fatal four-way match with Hikaru Shida, Saraya, and Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. During a Q&A behind Fightful's paywall, Sean Ross Sapp actually noted that Britt Baker is currently banged up as she goes into All In. She also takes a lot of pride in her work in the ring, and it's unknown exactly what the issue is. Now, I can't really tell what the issue is by looking at her in-ring work, but it's clear as day that Britt Baker is not herself right now, and she does look like something is bothering her. Not really sure what it is, but either way, something is indeed bothering her. And if I was to go out on a limb and guess it, I'm going to say that it's just wear and tear. I'm going to say that it's just wear and tear on her body, similar to what Kenny Omega was going through and all the bumps that he's taken over the years and his style of wrestling. It's going to cause some long-term damage to your back and to your limbs too. Same thing with Randy Orton. Now, it doesn't look to be as bad as what Randy Orton has, but regardless, when you take all these bumps and when you go hard the way that you're going hard as a professional wrestler, of course it's going to have a long-term effect on you. Of course, it is going to have an effect in which your body is going to start feeling it. Your body's going to start giving out. I respect that she takes a lot of pride in her work, but if you are not ready to go, if you are banged up, you should say something and you should not be involved in any sort of high-profile match whatsoever. I'm sorry. It is completely idiotic to be involved in a high-profile match like that because if Britt Baker is banged up, who's to say she may not screw up something? She may not mess up a move, and she could very well cause injury to one of her opponents. At the end of the day, the number one rule of pro wrestling is to always protect your opponent. Care for the individual that you're in the ring with. If Britt Baker is not physically healthy enough to do that, why is she in a high-profile match on AEW's biggest show ever? I don't care if she's Britt Baker. I don't care if she was the first AEW Women's signee. I don't care if she was AEW Women's Champion. I don't care what kind of star power she has. At the end of the day, in no way, shape, or form should Britt Baker be competing injured in a high-profile match like this. Now, if she gets past it, no problem. But at the end of the day, after All In, I fully expect Britt Baker to take some time off because she cannot continue to operate if she is hurt and she is banged up. She needs to spend a couple of weeks or a couple of months rejuvenating. Look at Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is taking all the time in the world to heal up her back injury because she does not want to come back in any way, shape, or form, not 100%. Britt Baker should do the same. Kind of irresponsible. Kind of irresponsible, if you ask me. Fightful, again. Fightful, they had a lot of major reports. Fightful Select has learned that there has been discussion within AEW about potentially working with and or signing Mariah May. Now, Mariah May, she was a wrestler that really rose to prominence in the United Kingdom, and she was trained to become a pro wrestler around 2018, 2019. She became a pro wrestler, and she had a stint over in Japan. I think she's with Stardom right now. She's with Stardom right now, and supposedly, she got very good. She was green back then, but she sharpened up her skills in Japan, and she really, really got very, very good. Now, I have not seen any Mariah May matches per se in recent memory. I know Jay Leto, he is a big fan of Mariah May. Now, if what people are saying is true, then in the end, Mariah May could end up being a nice little addition to the AEW women's division. However, it all depends on how she's booked. I'm not really sure what exactly is going to be, not really sure exactly what is going to be said. I'm not really sure what is going to be, not really sure what's going to be of Mariah May when she does get into AEW, or if she does get into AEW. Not really sure how she's going to be portrayed, but if she is as good as she says she is, I would like to hope that they may very well be in a position where they could find themselves the next breakout star. You already got a lot of breakout stars in Chris Statlander, you got Thunder Rosa, you got Sky Blue, you got Willow Nightingale. You're going to need more individuals to carry the women's division once Toni Storm is gone, and Ruby Soho's gone, and Britt Baker's gone, and Jamie Hayter's gone. So, if Mariah May could very well be an unofficial women's division pillar, I actually think that they could benefit greatly from that. And if anything, it could very well be a gateway for more people from Stardom to come on over to AEW in a Forbidden Door type of manner. And it could very well be a gateway to get Mercedes Moné into AEW, because she's still working with Stardom and the companies over in Japan. So if this could very well be a gateway to get more women in Stardom and potentially a Mercedes Moné into the fray, I would not be opposed to that whatsoever. And if Mariah May is good, by all means, give her that opportunity. I'm actually intrigued. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Sportskeeda. They actually brought out a report regarding plans for the Judgment Day. And it kind of contradicts the report that other wrestling insiders were predicting. I believe PW Insider, excuse me. PW Insider reported that there could be plans to kick Damian Priest out. Now, that could very well be where they're headed, but Sportskeeda reported that there are no plans for anyone to leave the Judgment Day for the time being. Now, I'm not sure how long these plans could very well be intact, but if you're asking me, this is probably the best route to go. Because the Judgment Day, they're much better together than they are separate. The Judgment Day and how they've really hit their stride this year and how they really became the top faction in WWE this year after the Bloodline crumbled, I really don't understand why anyone would even contemplate splitting up the Judgment Day. If you want to create some tension with the Judgment Day, that's fine and all, but there's a time and a place for that. There really is a time and a place for that. If anything, I would not split up the Judgment Day whatsoever. I really do hope that this report is true. If anything, what I would do is I would keep Judgment Day together, and I would indeed add JD McDonough to continue telling the story of tension. I would continue to tell that story of tension, and I would have JD McDonough and Finn Balor win the tag team titles, and there would pretty much be no choice but to accept JD McDonough into the Judgment Day. That would be a lot better than kicking Damian Priest out for JD McDonough. And I'm not saying that Damian Priest is not ready to stand on his own, but Damian Priest was on his own and WWE completely fumbled him. Damian Priest failed on his own because of poor booking. So did everyone else. 99% of the people in WWE failed because of terrible booking. So I don't understand why you would contemplate splitting up the Judgment Day now when there is so much more left to be done. So I would add JD McDonough, give him and Finn the tag team titles, and really build that tension. From there, I got a report on Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega, she actually fought Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship last night on SmackDown. Ringside News recently asked one of their inside sources in WWE about the current plan for Zelina Vega, since the LWO are a focus on SmackDown with Rey Mysterio winning the United States title. Unfortunately, the site was told by a tenured member of the creative team that Vega is simply not a priority over the other women at the forefront at the moment. End quote. Now, this may not seem like a major report to you. This may not seem like a major report whatsoever. But to me, this is a very, very telling report. This is a very, very, very telling report. Last week, I believe I reported regarding WWE having the Bloodline take a breather. The Bloodline is now on hold, minus Jimmy Uso, because Jimmy Uso is going to be coming back next Friday. Jimmy Uso is going to be coming back next Friday, and the Bloodline storyline with Roman going away, it is essentially on hold. With the Bloodline storyline essentially on hold, WWE said that they saw this as an opportunity for other superstars and performers to step up. They wanted this to be a scenario where other people stepped up to the plate. And that's great and all, but at the end of the day, how many people have stepped up to the plate? LA Knight stepped up to the plate. What are you doing with him? Finn Balor in the past, he stepped up to the plate. Priest, he stepped up to the plate. Before the Judgment Day, he stepped up to the plate. What about Sami Zayn? What about Kevin Owens? What about guys like that before this Bloodline storyline? Are you telling me that none of those individuals stepped up to the plate? Because that is absolutely a garbage theory. In no way, shape, or form can anyone tell me that guys like that, before we were in the situation that we're in now, before they were tag team champions and before the Judgment Day and before the Bloodline and all this, Owens and Zayn and Balor and Priest and LA Knight, you cannot sit there and tell me that they did not step up to the plate. They absolutely stepped up to the plate in more ways than one. You know what the problem was? The problem was WWE did not book them correctly. That was the problem. That has been the problem for years. That has been the problem ever since CM Punk left. Hell, even before Punk left. WWE does not put any effort into anything. They are lazy. They are complacent. They rely on one thing and they shove it down everyone's throats until everyone is sick of it. And they do not, I repeat, they do not care. They don't. The WWE wants people to step up, but little do they know, people have stepped up and they have neglected them. They've negated them. They have cast them off to the side, never to be seen again. They've ruined them. They've mistreated them. They've buried them. What it ultimately comes down to is if WWE wants to put effort into said individuals. Now, yes, Zelina Vega is not the best, but at the end of the day, she is a great example because she's improved. She's gotten a lot better from where she once was. She actually wrestles like a professional wrestler. She's not half bad whatsoever. Io and Zelina did not do half bad for themselves last night on SmackDown. But the problem is that WWE creative, i.e. Vince, does not care. Zelina Vega is not a priority. If WWE wants people to step up, if WWE wants people to grab that brass ring while the Bloodline is on a breather, then you need to give them the same amount of care that they are giving because they care about stepping up and they care about grabbing that brass ring, but you don't. Vince doesn't care. But of course, WWE will never take responsibility for that, and they're going to blame the talent, and they're going to act like they're flawless. They're going to act like they can do no wrong. They're going to neglect. They're going to mistreat. They're going to ruin. They're going to bury, because that's what they do. If you can't put effort into someone as simple, as undercard as you can get, if you can't even put effort into someone like a Zelina Vega with the Latino World Order, why should we believe that you're going to put effort into anything else where the Bloodline is on breather? It's stupid. I'll tell you what else is stupid. This whole merger with Endeavor. People want to spew all of this positivity. Oh, God, it's so great because WWE's making all this money. Money and sponsorships and advertisements and an international powerhouse. And Vince McMahon's a genius. Not a genius. He's an egomaniacal piece of trash. He's a manipulative, selfish piece of garbage. PW Insider reported that there's a sense of gloom and doom within the company offices with many employees. These are all the people up in Stamford that are about to lose their jobs because there's a feeling that if you're not a part of production or involved with WWE talent, you're not safe. You're not safe because the company is looking to cut back on departments as they are not needed because of the merger. If anything, I'm not even lying, this merger could very well make WWE worse than it actually is. And not only are we going to get department cuts, we're going to get talent cuts too. I guarantee you that we will get talent cuts at some point. They were rumored to come on July 1st. That didn't happen. But just because that didn't happen doesn't mean that this can't happen. We have to keep an eye out, because as soon as we get that notification that people are getting let go, you know for a fact that Vince McMahon is back in charge. I don't care. I do not care if it's part of the world of business. This could have been avoided if Vince didn't sell the company. He sold the company because he wanted to gain all the power back that he lost when he was forced to retire, and then some. Gloom and doom. WWE office employees could very well be cut. Guess what? It's not going to stop here. Talent cuts were rumored to come last month. It's not the end. Just because they didn't come doesn't mean that they're not going to come in the future. Those talent cuts are on the way. Trust me when I say that. I can just sense it. I just sense it in my heart of hearts that as soon as this merger is complete by the end of September, beginning of October, Vince McMahon, he's going to be fully back in charge, and he's going to start firing and releasing people left and right. Not only in offices, he's going to start releasing people on the WWE superstar roster as well. Why? Because at the end of the day, half of the people on that roster were hired back because of Triple H, because he had the ability to, because Vince wasn't in charge. I guarantee you that more talent cuts are coming. And my final report before we get into the big one. While speaking on his podcast, Arn Anderson revealed that his son, Brock Anderson's contract will expire next week. Brock Anderson has been involved with AEW for a while, although nothing really crazy has come out of his career whatsoever. He just has not had the real opportunity to break out. So I'm not sure if leaving AEW may very well be a good thing for him, but in my eyes, I honestly don't think that he will. I also do not think that he will, because I don't think that he's going to want to be away from his father. I'm not sure if being away from his father is a good thing for him. Maybe NXT could be a good thing for him. I'm not sure. Maybe NXT could very well help him in the long run, but I just do not know. I don't think that him going to WWE is really going to be anything more than causing more tension between WWE and AEW. And I just really want this whole thing to end. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. I keep on holding out for a potential partnership, but maybe I should just put it to bed already. I should just put it to bed already, because the executives on both ends are juvenile, egotistical children. But I don't see him leaving AEW. I think he's going to want to be with his father in AEW. The big one, Edge. The big one is Edge. Edge. Last week on SmackDown, he wrestled his last contractually obligated match of the current contract that he is on right now. And Edge, he fought Sheamus in what was a banger of a match, and he celebrated his 25-year anniversary. And people were going back and forth with what is their favorite Edge moment. A lot of people were referencing his cash-in on John Cena. A lot of people were referencing his moments with Rated RKO, the spear off the ladder to Jeff Hardy at TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, his return at the Royal Rumble. To me, my favorite Edge moment is something that really doesn't get talked about all too often. My favorite moment of Edge was the Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker at SummerSlam 2008. I joined wrestling right at the tail end of the Undertaker and Edge feud. And the reason why I reference that match and the reason why I always go back to SummerSlam 2008 and Edge versus Undertaker was because that was the match that got me hooked on wrestling forever. I was watching wrestling very casually. I was watching SmackDown on a very casual basis. I was just trying to get to know all the names. I got to know John Cena, and I got to know Batista, Chris Jericho, and CM Punk, and Shawn Michaels. And the one character that really drew me in was The Undertaker. My father showed me a History of the Undertaker video. It was called Tombstone, The History of the Undertaker. My dad showed me that documentary DVD, right? He showed me that documentary DVD, and he showed me the Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley and The Undertaker. And I was asking him, Dad, is he still wrestling to this day? And he said, yeah. So I thought to myself, oh my God, like, I want to see this guy wrestle. But not only that, I want to see this guy wrestle in a Hell in a Cell match right now. I want to see this guy wrestle in a Hell in a Cell match in the present day. And then lo and behold, I remember, I think it was July 25th or July 26th, Friday Night SmackDown 2008. And I remember it was Edge trying to apologize to Vicky Guerrero because he cheated on her. And Vicky said, I did something you might not like. And Edge said, well, what did you do? And she goes, I reinstated The Undertaker. Little did I know that The Undertaker was on a hiatus because per kayfabe, back at One Night Stand 2008 in the TLC match for the World Heavyweight title, Edge tossed The Undertaker off of a ladder through two tables, and The Undertaker was banished from WWE. Vicky Guerrero reinstated The Undertaker, and she announced, it's going to be you and Undertaker at SummerSlam inside Hell in a Cell. SummerSlam 2008, the first pay-per-view I ever watched, and the main event was Edge and Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. Edge was part of the match that got me hooked on wrestling forever. And the reason why that match was so good, because it had to me one of the best endings to a match that you could ever see. It may very well have been the best ending. The ending was just so symbolic. And it just was the perfect culmination of a year-plus long feud. This was a year-plus long feud that stemmed all the way back from May of 2007 when Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank contract on The Undertaker to win the World Heavyweight Championship on SmackDown after The Undertaker just went through a war with Batista inside a steel cage. This was a year-plus long feud with Edge robbing The Undertaker of the World Heavyweight title inside Hell in a Cell, robbing The Undertaker of the World Heavyweight title at Survivor Series, beating both Batista and The Undertaker at Armageddon 2007, and then getting the main event of WrestleMania 24. One of the most underrated main events in WrestleMania history. Undertaker going 16-0 because of Edge, the TLC match, and then the culmination at SummerSlam inside Hell in a Cell. Edge did everything in his power to The Undertaker to try and keep him down. He gave him concertos. He speared him. He put him through tables. He hit him with production cameras. And in the last 2 to 3 minutes of that Hell in a Cell match, The Undertaker did everything to Edge that Edge did to him. He chokeslammed him through 2 tables. He speared him. He gave him a concerto. He hit him with a video camera. And he won. Edge was a part of that. And Edge was a part of that magical moment with The Undertaker that brought me to love pro wrestling and hooked me on pro wrestling up until this day after 15 years. Edge stated that his contract isn't up with WWE until the end of September. His match with Sheamus was his last contracted match. Now, Edge did throw a video out there and said that the WWE did not decline Edge's demands in a contract after that came out because the two sides reportedly, according to Ringside News, Edge and WWE did not come to terms. And the internal speculation with WWE is that he's going to AEW. PW Torch, they reported that Edge presented what he wanted from WWE to retain his services, and WWE declined his request. Edge said that that's not the case. Now, normally, I wouldn't really be questioning this. Because Edge is a very down-to-earth and genuine human being, and Edge, at the end of the day, he doesn't really lie. He's not a BS artist. He's not. Edge is a very genuine and transparent human being, and he's not going to lie to his fan base. However, normally I would say, all right, Edge is telling the truth, but I remember when the Royal Rumble 2020 came around and Edge pretty much called out rumors. He pretty much called out rumors on social media saying, yeah, this is not happening. I'm not returning. I'm not going to be at the Royal Rumble. And then he ended up showing at the Royal Rumble anyway. So based on that, there is a strong possibility he could end up in AEW. And for everyone that's saying, oh, Edge isn't going to AEW, he's not going anywhere, he's going to stay with WWE, how do you know? How do you know that Adam Copeland does not want to go to AEW? People are saying, oh, he'll ruin his legacy. How would he ruin his legacy? How would he ruin his legacy if he was to go in AEW and have a singles run against people like CM Punk and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page and Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara and all these people? How exactly is that Jay White, Konosuke Takeshita, MJF, Adam Cole? How is that ruining his legacy? That really just goes to show you how delusional people really are. And on top of that, similar to Matt and Jeff Hardy, where they wanted to retire together, how do you know that Edge does not want to go to AEW to end his career the same way that he started his career with his best friend? Edge, to me, is a man of sentimental value. And the thing that is most sentimental to him is his family. And Christian Cage is legitimately his family. Christian Cage is the closest thing that Edge has ever had to a brother. Christian Cage is pretty much Edge's illegitimate brother. They are closer. They're closer. They're like this. Who's to say that Edge would not want to go to AEW and he would not want to retire with his best friend, basically his brother in Christian Cage? Think about the matches that Christian Cage and Edge could have in AEW. Think about it. Hardys, Young Bucks, FTR, numerous amounts of other tag teams, Iron Savages, Private Party, Bullet Club Gold, Blackpool Combat Club. Why would you not want Edge in AEW? I'm not saying there's not things that he could do in WWE, but if anything, the options over in AEW is a lot more enticing. With how Edge is and how he's a very sentimental man, he's a man of value, family is a very important thing to him. Who's to say that he does not want to follow in the footsteps of Matt and Jeff Hardy, and he does not want to go to AEW and retire with a man that he basically considers his brother in Christian Cage? And the options for Edge over in AEW are a lot more intriguing, whether it be a tag team match with FTR, the Young Bucks, the Hardys, whether it be a singles run against Christian or Adam Cole or MJF or Kenny Omega. The possibilities are endless over there. It doesn't even have to be a full-time deal. It doesn't even have to be a 3-4 year deal. But if Edge wants to retire, I would like to believe that Edge would want to have a well-rounded career, go to AEW, and retire with his best friend, Christian Cage. And I think that Christian would want that as well. Those are all the news, rumors, and reports that I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Got a nice, hefty amount of people watching. Got a lot of good interactions. Please, people, if you haven't already done so, continue to share the stream out on all platforms of social media. Continue to get as many people in here as possible. And make sure everyone has a little dose of DJ Storms in their life, because everyone, and I mean everyone, needs a little bit of DJ Storms. Everyone needs a little bit of DJ Storms because I make people's lives better, and you know it. Let's go over the news, rumors, and reports that we got going on over here. News, rumors, and reports for Raw, for Dynamite, and Rampage. Like I said, I am not going over SmackDown right now. I'm not going over SmackDown because there's really nothing to go over. It was a tribute show for both Terry Funk and for Bray Wyatt. Raw. I did not care for Raw. It meant nothing, to be quite honest with you, and it was flat out boring. Raw right now is a very, very, very bad program. I really don't know what else I could possibly say as it relates to Monday Night Raw. Had a very, very, very lackluster build towards WWE Payback. Nothing is intriguing. The pay-per-view could very well be intriguing. The pay-per-view itself could very well be great. But in the end, it's just been a very, very lame, just a very, very blah build. A very lame match card. Well, I shouldn't really say lame match card. The match card itself looks fine. But it's very, very hard for me to care about anything, especially when WWE has not put any effort into any of their pay-per-views all year. They haven't put any effort into any of their shows, and everything just feels like it was thrown together. It feels like it was thrown together because they have to. It feels like it was thrown together just because they have to, not because they want to, not because they actually care about building a solid pay-per-view. And yes, Dylan, Monday Night bore. Monday Night bore, right down to the very last letter. Sami Zayn, he kicked off the show. They were in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and he had a great hometown reception. He was just soaking it in. It was a great thing to see. It really was a great thing to see, and it was a really genuine, heartfelt moment for Sami Zayn. It's always great to see a guy like Sami get that attention and get that respect, because Sami Zayn, when I look at Sami Zayn, I see an individual that's virtually like us. And it's very, very hard for anyone really to boo Sami Zayn. He's a much better babyface than he is a heel, if we're going to be quite honest with you. So the Judgment Day interrupted, as per usual. They surrounded the ring. They were planning on taking out Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn said, "Hold on, do you think that I would have came here, of all places, alone?" All of a sudden, out comes Kevin Owens. Huge pop. It was an all-out melee. Crowd was chanting for Kevin Owens, and Owens said, "It's been far too long since I've had a match on Raw. How about tonight, Owens and Zayn versus any two of you?" And that was pretty much that. It's great to see Owens, but at the end of the day, it's the same exact promo, the same exact open, every single show. New week, same material. Why do I care? I don't. New Day. New Day. They took on Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre. This was fine. This was fine for what it was. Really nothing over the top, really nothing overly crazy. Drew McIntyre then took out the New Day early on. He threw Matt Riddle over the top with a overhead belly-to-belly onto the New Day. Coming back from commercial, Riddle tried to fight back. Kofi with a splash to the back for a 2. Riddle with a final flash. And Riddle then delivered an avalanche fisherman buster off the top to Xavier Woods before the Viking Raiders came out of nowhere. Eric of the Viking Raiders took out Drew McIntyre behind the referee's back. And then Kofi came in with the Trouble in Paradise to beat Mick Riddle, as they're calling themselves, the New Day. They beat Drew McIntyre. They beat Matt Riddle with the Trouble in Paradise. The Viking Raiders then attacked the New Day as well before Drew McIntyre came in and he sent the Viking Raiders packing. It looks like that we could get a little triple threat tag team action. I would not mind that. I think that would be a very, very, very solid addition to Monday Night Raw, where, in a sense, we're kind of having a bit of a tag team renaissance. You got Owens and Zayn, you got the Judgment Day, you got the Viking Raiders, you got the New Day, you got Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre for the time being, you got Imperium in there. There's a lot of things that they could do. Street Profits are having a very nice little stint right now with Bobby Lashley. They're just getting their feet wet in this unit with Bobby Lashley. And you got the Brawling Brutes as well. It's a lot of solid tag teams on WWE television, so I really hope that they capitalize on that. Chad Gable and Gunther. This was for the Intercontinental Championship, and I said on the PWP Nation Facebook page, this was booked perfectly. This did exactly what it needed to do. Gunther was taking it to Gable. He was just chopping down Gable. He was giving him the boots. He was clotheslining him. He was doing everything to make sure that Chad Gable would just stay down. And Chad Gable did not stay down. Chad Gable kept on coming back for more and coming back for more and coming back for more. And it ended with Gunther chopping the post, Gable German suplexing Gunther over the barricade, and Gable winning the match via countout, but he didn't win the championship. These two delivered a great television match, and the ending was exactly how I would have done it. An ending that I would have done just the same, and now this feud can continue going into Payback. And that will be when Gunther inevitably beats Gable again. He'll break the record, and then at Fastlane, we could very well see Gunther and Chad Gable one more time, and that is when Chad Gable wins the Intercontinental title. It's simple. Simple. Great way to keep the feud going. Great way to keep it going. We had Cody Rhodes. He had an interview with Byron Saxton, and they went out on the stage speaking in front of the crowd. He actually said, "What do you want to talk about?" in French. So Cody welcomed Barrett and Cole to Monday Night Raw. He hyped up Sammy and Kevin. He hyped up Quebec for the tag team match. And Cody said he will be watching closely. And he has a feeling that we will watch the Judgment Day rise and fall. So we did not get the "oh" until the end of the show. We did not get the "oh" until the end of the show. I'm actually quite disappointed at what Cody's doing at Payback. They're literally having Cody on the Grayson Waller effect. They're having Grayson Waller in a talk show segment with Cody Rhodes. I don't know why. Now, I have a theory. I do have a theory, and I'm going to tell you that theory. If Cody Rhodes is appearing on the Grayson Waller effect with Grayson Waller, the only logical thing that I can think of is this is a setup for a Randy Orton return. I really don't understand why you would have a talk show segment if we're not going to get anything of substance coming out of it. If the Judgment Day interrupts Cody, I'm going to ask, well, why didn't you just give us Cody versus a Finn Balor or Cody versus a Damian Priest? If anything, I actually thought that we were gonna get Damian Priest and Cody for the Money in the Bank briefcase, because JD McDonough said, hey, maybe you should get rid of this briefcase because it's driving a wedge between you, Finn, and you, Damian. So at the end of the day, that's where I thought they were headed towards, but apparently they're taking it in a completely different direction. But unless Randy Orton shows up, unless we get a Randy Orton return and we kickstart a Randy Orton-Cody Rhodes feud, this just seems like a major waste of time. It seems like a major waste of time, similar to what John Cena and Grayson Waller did at Money in the Bank. That was a waste of time. Oh, that was pretty much made as a means to counteract what AEW was doing with All In. They announced that WrestleMania could potentially come to London because they wanted to take the thunder away from AEW All In. And they ended up bringing the show down with that segment. No matter how electric that crowd was, they brought the show down with that segment with John Cena and Grayson Waller. Are you really going to do the same with Cody and Grayson Waller here? The premium live events should be premium live events where everyone gets a solid amount of time. 15 minutes, no less. I don't understand why we need a Grayson Waller effect on a pay-per-view. Wrestling talk shows are suited for the weekly shows, not for pay-per-views. I'm sorry. Nakamura, he had a backstage segment. He said he knows about Seth Rollins' back. And Seth Rollins has had 2 fractures in his lumbar spine, and he is still living in pain to this day. Every day is filled with pain. And Nakamura said, I know I can break him once and for all. His body will crumble under the pressure. Are you satisfied, Seth? He was speaking in Japanese the majority of the promo. He said in Japanese, I will break you once and for all. Watch your back. This was actually very good. And I really do wish that we would get more promos like this. Just imagine if we had segments like this for almost everyone on the roster. Everyone on the roster would feel important. But Nakamura here, what they did was very, very, very solid. And I was very happy to see that they went this route with Nakamura. I really do hope we get more of this. After that, the show really took a nosedive. It just fell off a cliff. After the first hour, the show just completely went left. And the show was just, it was a struggle to get through. It was a chore. It was an honest-to-God chore. Candice LeRae, she took on Rhea Ripley. LeRae legitimately got squashed by Rhea Ripley. I don't understand what the point of this was. Very poor decision. I don't understand why, when you have full-time talent, why is it that The Miz and Akira Tozawa got more time than Candice LeRae and Rhea Ripley? You do realize that Candice LeRae and Rhea Ripley could realistically put on the best women's match of the year if you want them to. But no, over here, they're barely even worth 2 minutes. Pathetic. So LeRae was used as a setup to have Raquel Gonzalez came out with a crutch. Raquel came out after Candice just got buried with a crutch, and she threw the crutch at Rhea. We got a little brawl, and it resulted in Raquel Rodriguez saying that she is medically cleared, and the match was made for Payback Women's Championship. It is Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. Should be a decent match. I'm actually very much impressed with what Raquel has done and the way that Raquel has really improved significantly. She really has improved significantly over the course of the last number of months, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does with Rhea. The Miz. Miz came out to hype up his opponent, a big level opponent. He continued to downplay LA Knight. His opponent ended up being Akira Tozawa. I had a feeling it was going to be Tozawa from the moment that he said it. Tozawa was actually doing LA Knight's catchphrase. The crowd was into it. Miz then had enough and booted Tozawa. And we get ourselves a match. Akira Tozawa and The Miz. LA Knight came out to watch early on. Tozawa, he then drop kicked The Miz out of the ring and delivered a very nice suicide dive. I love Akira Tozawa's suicide dive. Coming back from commercial, Miz tried to wear down Tozawa. Tozawa tried to mount a comeback. We had a nice Hurricane Rana and a Shining Wizard. We had a Wrecking Ball drop kick by Miz. Tozawa then with a Hurricane Rana off of the table into the steel steps went Miz. He went for the diving senton, but Miz got the knees up. Tozawa was then getting set up by The Miz, and The Miz was going to hit the skull-crushing finale before Miz stopped to talk to LA Knight, and Tozawa rolled up The Miz for the win. And Tozawa ended up beating The Miz on Monday Night Raw. I hope we see more of Tozawa, because Tozawa, at one point in time, Akira Tozawa was the most consistent performer in the WWE. So I actually do hope we see a little bit more of him, because Tozawa, he can wrestle. He can work. Afterwards, LA Knight went into the ring and gave The Miz the blunt force trauma, the BFT. Becky Lynch. Oh my God. Becky Lynch. I'm not even lying to you right now. This whole Trish Stratus feud has ruined Becky Lynch. Not even lying to you right now. This entire Trish Stratus feud has absolutely ruined Becky Lynch right down to the very last letter. It's awful. It's absolutely awful in every sense of the imagination. It's terrible. So, we had Becky Lynch. We had Becky Lynch coming out, and Becky Lynch was talking about her match at Payback with Trish Stratus, which is going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible match. I expect nothing from that match. It's been the worst feud in the entire industry all year. So from there, we had Becky talking about how she is building her legacy on survival. She always comes back. She is unstoppable. She always fights. Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus then came out, and the crowd was actually happy to see her for about 2 seconds. She says that being here means absolutely nothing. This was actually rough to watch. She looked like she was legitimately struggling to cut a promo. It was horrendous to watch. So Trish said that she is scared, but she was scared when she was the first female to main event Raw, but I killed it. You want to shove me into a steel cage, I will stand tall. You step into the cage, you'll see a side of me that you've never seen before. And I promise you're not going to survive this one, said Trish Stratus. Becky then said next week it'll be Zoe and Becky in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And that is going to be where Becky Lynch pretty much finishes Zoe Stark for the time being before we get to Payback. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, they had a match with Caden Carter and Katana Chance, and Caden Carter and Katana Chance got absolutely buried. A complete waste of time, a burial, if you will. And I don't even know why you called up Katana and Caden if this is their extent. If this is really the extent that you are going to use them, why did you even call them up? It's pathetic. It's disgusting. It is honestly disgusting that we have to sit here and we have to deal with the fact that two talented women who should realistically be built up as a legit women's tag team to go fight against who are the women's tag team champions? Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. That's how important they are. That's how important they are. Chelsea Green, Piper Niven. They're the women's tag team champions, and they have legitimately no competition, and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance are virtually jobbers. Pathetic. Pathetic. Seth Rollins. He cut a very good promo on Shinsuke Nakamura backstage. He did talk about the injury to his back, and then he challenged Shinsuke Nakamura to a face-to-face segment next week. And then in the main segment, we had Sami and Kevin versus the Judgment Day. It was Balor, it was Priest, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. It ended via a disqualification because JD McDonough tossed the briefcase to Balor. Took him, and Kevin Owens caught the briefcase. He hit Balor with it, and that caused the disqualification, which was completely idiotic, only to result in Cody Rhodes coming out, and we get a 6-man tag team match. I mean, of course we do. Of course. Terrible. It was a terribly booked segment. If you were going to do the 6-man tag team match, why didn't you just do it at the pay-per-view? Why did we need to see this? If anything, why didn't you give us Owens and Zayn defending the tag team titles against JD McDonough and Finn Balor, with JD and Finn Balor winning, which could have caused more tension between Balor and Priest? That would have been an interesting direction to take the story in. That would have actually made sense, and with JD sliding on into Judgment Day, it would have actually made the group a lot more intriguing, because right now they're just spinning their wheels. They're doing nothing. 6-man tag. If you've seen this 6-man tag, you've seen the 6-man tag that we have gotten every single week on Monday Night Raw for the last 3 months. The entire summer has been nothing but Judgment Day 6-man tag team matches. Nothing but Judgment Day 6-man tag team matches. Cody Rhodes and the babyfaces get the win. Same thing over and over and over again. And that was pretty much it. And now you got Cody on the Grayson Waller effect at Payback. Yeah, what a great use of Cody. Boring show. A boring show. A skippable show outside of Chad Gable and Gunther. Gunther's actually becoming the best thing on Raw. Forget about the Judgment Day. Gunther's the best thing on Raw. Let me check the chat for a little bit, because we got some people rolling on into the chat. Mac the Giants fan with some comments. He says, their pay-per-views are usually pretty decent, but the lack of build-up for all of them is shameful. Yes, it is. Mac the Giants fan also says, already forgot about that whole segment. I'm assuming you're talking about the Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus segment. Sarah Hapka says the Judgment Day is boring now. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're boring, but I honestly don't blame you. I really don't blame you, because they're coming out every single week and they're not doing anything intriguing. The biggest thing that Judgment Day did, the only 2 intriguing things that Judgment Day did all summer was Priest winning Money in the Bank and Finn Balor put on that great match at SummerSlam with Seth Rollins. Rhea Ripley isn't even doing anything. The only reason why Rhea Ripley is still as good as she is because she's Rhea Ripley. Her title reign, outside of that great match with Natalya, outside of that one match with Natalya on the Raw after Money in the Bank, her title reign has been a complete flop. And that just goes to show you that WWE does not know how to book women's wrestling. They do not know how to build up new stars. They do not know how to book their champions when they're not named Roman Reigns. Although Seth Rollins has had a very good title reign thus far, and I'm sure that the match with Nakamura is going to be very good. But at the end of the day, Seth Rollins and Rhea Ripley and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio, they don't know how to book their champions. Outside of Gunther, no other champion minus Roman is being booked correctly. None. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite Fighter Fest. This was the go-home show for Dynamite and AEW All In, and we got ourselves a great show. Easily the best show of the week up until this point. We'll see what Collision brings to us, but Dynamite Fighter Fest, really, really, really good stuff. Great wrestling across the board, a couple of surprises, a couple of really, really, really good promos and sit-down segments. We had what was supposed to be a six-man tag team match. It was supposed to be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Juice Robinson and the Guns. This match never got started because Juice Robinson knocked out Rick Knox with a punch. He knocked out Rick Knox, and it was just an all-out melee with Jay White coming out, getting involved with Omega, and then FTR came out, and then Takeshita came out. It was just a complete brawl. It was probably one of the hottest starts to Dynamite all year. Just an absolute brawl, an absolute melee, chaotic. It was absolutely chaotic. Now, normally in scenarios like this, where they would book something and then they would switch it out with something else, normally I would just rip this apart. But I'm not going to do that because realistically, this was probably the best thing that they could have done because neither one of these factions should be taking a loss. It doesn't make sense for any one of these factions to be taking a loss heading into All In and All Out weekend. So the fact that this match never happened and we got a brawl instead, this was probably the best usage of all of these individuals, and it made things a lot easier without having to give any of these individuals a loss. So I don't mind that this happened whatsoever. And on top of that, one of the best things that I love about this is the fact that Bullet Club Gold, hired as assassins by Don Callis, the best thing about this is after Kenny Omega gets done with Konosuke Takeshita, Kenny Omega has a feud waiting for him right after. It's Jay White. And that right there, that's going to be one hell of a program. Renee Paquette. She talked about AEW All In with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF was actually very supportive of those who paved the way, including guys like Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. They went through MJF's history with Adam Cole, dating back to their 30-minute draw at the beginning of the summer. He called Adam Cole his brother, and he says that he is your scumbag at the end of the day. This was actually a very, very good interview, and it really makes me wonder if we will be getting an Adam Cole heel turn tomorrow at All In. Really makes me wonder if the Kingdom and Roderick Strong are really going to align with MJF, and will MJF have to recruit FTR and Wardlow from the Pinnacle to go up against Adam Cole and his faction? That would actually be pretty damn good. That would actually be very intriguing. That would actually add another layer onto this already developing story between Adam Cole and MJF. So if that's the case, I'm all for it. Jon Moxley and Rey Fenix. I mean, what can be said? What can be said about Jon Moxley and Rey Fenix? Two excellent pro wrestlers that embody AEW down to a T, going out there and putting on a great wrestling match. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And it was a great thing to see. So from there, Moxley took over. He brought the heavy artillery with boots to the face, a King Kong lariat. Coming back from commercial, Rey Fenix was caught in a rear naked choke. Fenix came back with a rolling cutter. Fenix with a huge frog splash. Moxley kicked out. Moxley then got rolled up for a 2. Both men were down after a couple of elbow strikes. Super kick by Fenix. Moxley and Fenix were brought up to the top rope. Moxley with an avalanche death rider from the top. Fenix kicked out. Fenix was then locked in the rear naked choke and Moxley kept it in deep, which ultimately resulted in Rey Fenix passing out. Jon Moxley wins an excellent pro wrestling match. Afterwards, the BCC attacked. Wheeler Yuta had a crowbar, and Yuta struck the crowbar right into Rey Fenix's face, and they even brought in Ortiz and Mike Santana. Ortiz and Mike Santana are indeed back in AEW, and it's going to be 5-on-5 at the AEW Stadium Stampede in Wembley Stadium at All In, with Santana and Ortiz being the mystery partners for the Blackpool Combat Club. And that right there, that is great. That is a great, great call. Those two are absolutely going to go in there and put on one hell of a show. Santana and Ortiz, I really do hope that they are on good terms again. I really do hope that they're on good terms, and I really do hope that they are back in shape. They're back and they're hitting the ground running again, because they are a very underrated and a very underappreciated tag team. They should have won the tag team titles by now. But this was very good. Very, very, very good stuff, and we're going to get one hell of a chaotic brawl tomorrow with Stadium Stampede. And Santana Ortiz, they look great. Tony Schiavone, he monitored the contract signing between Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho. Jericho came out with Sammy Guevara. He had an entire security crew around the table just to make sure that there was no funny business. So Don Callis spoke. Crowd booed heavily. Don Callis then said that Jericho's head will be gifted on a platter to himself via Will Ospreay at Wembley. Callis then gave the mic to Ospreay, and Ospreay hyped up Wembley. He said that this match will change his life. He said that he has a 4-year-old stepson, and he wants to put money in his pockets. He says that his contract is up for New Japan Pro Wrestling in 6 months. Ooh, looks like we could be seeing Will Ospreay in AEW sooner rather than later. So his contract is up for New Japan in 6 months. He says that he is the best pro wrestler in the world, better than Danielson, better than Punk, and better than you, Chris. He then signed the contract, and Chris then had his time to speak. Jericho said, "I don't think you would have accomplished everything that you have accomplished if it wasn't for me. I called you and I told you to tone it down because you were going to be in a wheelchair by the time you were 30, just like your hero, the Dynamite Kid," said Jericho. He then said, "You would have never made it this long if you continued at the rate that you were. Everyone on social media is predicting my demise. That means I have to be. No, I will be the best version of Chris Jericho, but you're going to have to be the best version of Will Ospreay." And he ended with, "Don't make me regret the fact that I picked up the phone and I kept you from being in a wheelchair." Will Ospreay then slapped the mic out of Jericho's hands, and we got ourselves a nice pull-apart brawl with the security separating the two. Listen, was it my first choice? No. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this was my first choice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is exactly what I would have done. No. I would have personally done Jericho versus Sammy. I would have had Jericho join the Don Callis family, and we would have gone Jericho versus Sammy. Will Ospreay, I would have had him fight Hangman Page. However, I cannot sit here and tell you that I was not sold. They sold the entire match perfectly. They sold me. 1 week, it sold me. And in the end, this could very well be one of the sleeper matches of the night. Excellent contract signing. Awesome stuff. Renee Paquette. She sat down with Adam Cole, and this was actually pretty telling. So Renee pretty much asked the same question regarding MJF and Adam Cole's relationship. She asked the same question that she asked to MJF. Adam Cole then got pissed off. Adam Cole got pissed off, and he actually lost his cool on Renee Young and walked out on the interview. That was very telling right there. Could we very well see Adam Cole turn on MJF and align himself with the Kingdom and Roderick Strong? I don't know about you, but that right there is a very, very, very real possibility. Roderick Strong even said in an interview with the Kingdom, he said, after Sunday, when that bell rings, we're going to see who the real MJF is and who the real Adam Cole is. Now, that right there is going to be very telling. I'm very intrigued to see what type of role Strong in the Kingdom will play in this match. It's going to be interesting. Swerve Strickland and AR Fox, they took on Nick Wayne and Darby Allin. This was a Texas Tornado match, and this was crazy stuff right out of the gate. Nick Wayne doing Wayne's World on the floor. We had a coffin drop as well by Darby to the floor. Swerve Strickland regained control. Swerve Strickland then stomped Darby on the apron, or off the apron, while Darby was onto a chair. Beautiful spot. We had a beautiful springing brainbuster by AR Fox on Nick Wayne for a 2. Wayne then just kept on kicking out. He would not stay down. Fox then missed the 450, and Wayne rolled up Fox with a bridge pin, and Nick Wayne won his first match on AEW Dynamite. He pinned AR Fox, and him and Darby left victorious. Swerve then took the mic and he laughed and he said, "This is so disappointing, and I mean you, AR Fox." He then reprimanded Fox and asked why he's such a loser. This was all a test, but if you couldn't beat an 18-year-old child, how can I trust you in front of 80,000 people? Prince Nana said that, AR Fox, you are fired. Brian Cage then came out of nowhere and attacked AR Fox. Sting and Darby then came out to help Fox, and Darby ended up reconciling with AR Fox. He reconciled with the man that helped him become a wrestler. Darby then asked, well, if it's not Fox, then who you got? And out came Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Christian said, you didn't introduce me to your friend. I knew exactly what was going to happen. You didn't introduce me to your friend, Nick Wayne. Yeah, I understand, Nick Wayne, that you were a second-generation superstar. I understand that you have a father, and your father is dead. I mean, Christian Cage, what a piece of garbage. I love it. I love it. He goes, I don't know a lot about your father, Buddy Wayne, but seeing that I don't know a lot about him, he must not have been that good, so you don't have a lot to live up to. And then, my favorite line of all of this, he goes, if I were you, Nick Wayne, I would stay clear of Wembley so you don't have to watch a coffin close on another member of the people that you love so much. I would not want you to watch me close the coffin door on Darby. I mean, how can you not love Christian? How can you not love Christian Cage's heel work? It's brilliant. It's brilliant. He doesn't care. Man, I love Christian. Now, I understand that AR Fox was not the biggest guy to put in that scenario, but I will say this. The fact that they told a story of Swerve being disappointed in Fox, kicking him out, and recruiting Christian Cage, I will say this. This does make sense, and this does bleed into what's going down at All Out the following week. So I will say that. Ruby Soho, she took on Sky Blue. This was a very solid match for what it was, and this was a setup match. Sky Blue looked very nice, diving crossbody off the apron, diving crossbody in the ring, and a nice neck breaker. We had some back and forth pin counters by both women. Sky Blue hit Skyfall, but Ruby kicked out. Ruby then with a knee, No Future, and Destination Unknown, and Ruby gets the win. And she actually called out Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship after it was all said and done. So it looks like that could be a match that we could be looking at All Out. It'll be Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho for the TBS Championship. I like that. I like that. And if you guys remember in the past, Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho's best matches were with Chris Statlander. Ruby Soho's best matches had Chris Statlander. And if we're going to get what we got in the past with these two, this is going to be one hell of a program. I'm very much looking forward to this. And Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander, they're going to put on a damn good match if this is booked for All Out. So for All Out, if we got Luchasaurus Darby Allin, Miro Powerhouse Hobbs, if we get Omega Takeshita booked, we get Soho and Statlander booked, and then a potential match with Will Ospreay and Sammy Guevara if they want to go that route, that is one hell of a card thus far. If anything, you could say that All Out actually looks better than All In. The Acclaimed. They called out the House of Black, and they wanted to fight. The lights go out, and the House of Black surrounded the ring. Brody King had the chain in hand, and all of a sudden, the Acclaim's theme music hit, and Billy Gunn, Daddy Ass, came out. House of Black then walked away. Billy Gunn then took the mic, and he said, after everything, I was okay with calling it a career. I was okay with leaving my boots in the middle of the ring and that being the end. But you took my boots and you destroyed them. I am a Hall of Famer and you pissed all over it. One more time, all or nothing. I take everything from you. The House of Black versus the Acclaimed. And, well, there was a guy that you're going to wish never showed face. That fun-loving daddy ass is gone, and you're going to wish you never saw a certain badass that is coming to London. Badass Billy Gunn. Badass Billy Gunn, man, became the most over thing on the show. Great thing to see. Great thing to see. And I am very much looking forward to it. I think that that's going to be a great moment when Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed take the Trios Championships. And who would have thought that Billy Gunn would have been one of the most over acts in the entire industry in 2023? Who would have thought? Awesome promo, and I'm very much looking forward to what we have going on at All In. Aussie Open versus the Hardys. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. This went way too quick. Not a terrible match, but not long enough for me to care. Not long enough for anyone to really care, and it felt very, very rushed because they had to save room in the end for MJF and Adam Cole. If anything, if you wanted to extend the time, why didn't you just extend the time to 10:15? Would that really have made that much of a difference on TNT or TBS? TBS and TNT, they barely produce anything new nowadays. I think TBS just produces a spin-off of the Big Bang Theory called Young Sheldon or something like that. How many new series are on TNT? It feels like it's just movies on TNT that they replay. Could have used more time. But the Hardys came in with a couple of poetry and motions. The brawl then spilled to the floor. We had a tag to Matt Hardy. He hit a double whisper in the wind, did Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy hit a double whisper in the wind. Matt Hardy came in with a DDT on Davis and a side effect on Fletcher for a 2. Twist of Fate was blocked. We had a tag to Jeff Hardy. Matt Hardy delivered a superplex. Jeff Hardy with a splash from the middle rope. Nice combo right there. That got a 2 count. Fletcher then powerbombed Matt Hardy. And then we had an assisted cutter on Jeff Hardy by Aussie Open. And they retained the titles in a match that could have been great if they would have given them more time. Afterwards, we had Davis and Fletcher calling out MJF and Adam Cole, saying that there will be no double clothesline and no kangaroo kick. We had MJF and Adam Cole coming down to the ring. We get a big brawl. We had a double clothesline attempt, but Davis got out of dodge. MJF then held Kyle Fletcher up. MJF held him up. Cole went for the super kick. Fletcher moved. MJF caught the kick. He caught the kick, put his foot down, and held up the title right in front of Adam Cole's face. MJF then contemplated hitting Adam Cole with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He thought better of it and just ultimately hugged it out with Adam Cole. And that was the way that Dynamite went off the air. It's going to be interesting tomorrow. It's going to be very, very, very intriguing tomorrow to see what exactly they are going to do with MJF and Adam Cole. Feels very, very, very unpredictable. And that is a great thing. The more unpredictable it is, the better. So that was Dynamite. And we then went into SmackDown. I already said that the tribute for Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, that was a beautiful thing. Let's talk about Rampage Fighter Fest. Rampage Fighter Fest, they had a decent little show on TNT. We had the International Championship. This was Orange Cassidy and Aaron Solo. This was for the International Championship, and Harley Cameron she's pretty much the new Jillian Hall right now. I don't know what exactly is going on. Just Harley Cameron and this singing gimmick that they got going on. Absolutely horrendous in every sense of the word. I really, really, really wish that they would not go this far. Even though it's on Rampage, and Rampage is their weakest show, I would like all AEW shows to have a certain sense of quality. I really, really would. It is very, very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating to see something like this. And I know that a show could be better, and it's being tarnished by a terrible gimmick. Jillian Hall was not entertaining, and this is not entertaining either. Harley Cameron, I will say, is actually a better singer than Jillian Hall. She can actually hold a note. So Orange Cassidy came in with a tope suicida on Aaron Solo. Solo came back with a modified exploder. Cassidy then mounted a comeback, diving crossbody, and a stun dog millionaire. We had a satellite DDT by Orange Cassidy for a 2. All of a sudden, Harley Cameron started singing to distract Cassidy, and Cassidy, like an idiot, was distracted. Orange Cassidy ended up eating a tornado kick, and then he ate a shoulder breaker, if you will, dropped right on the shoulder by Aaron Solo. That got a 2. Aaron Solo rolled through with a diving double foot stomp. Cassidy still kicked out. The referee caught Harley Cameron with her shoe off, getting ready to hit Orange Cassidy with it. Solo then hit Orange Cassidy with Harley Cameron's shoe, and Cassidy kicked out right at the last minute. Afterwards, Orange Cassidy hit the Orange Punch and delivered the Beach Break, and he beat Aaron Solo 1-2-3. Minus Harley Cameron's terrible singing. This was a very solid match to open the show, and probably Aaron Solo's best match in AEW, period. He actually did very, very well here, so I got to give him props. QT Marshall, he actually had a great sit-down interview with Jim Ross, and he became the new AAA Latin American champion over the weekend, a couple weeks ago, actually. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and he became the new AAA Latin American champion. So he was talking about how he doesn't have an action figure. He's not on the promotional posters, but he's going to come here, and he was taught to always do the work and to always make the best of what you got. I don't know what it was, but this actually came off very well. Now, granted, QT Marshall's not anything special. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, yeah, I want to see QT Marshall on my television more. I don't. He's a bum. He's a jobber. But this was a very good interview. And not only that, he put on a very good match with Gravity. That was probably the best match of the night, him and Gravity. So Gravity, who is the younger brother of Bandito, he delivered a big tope onto QT Marshall. QT then with a right hand, Hurricane Rana to the floor. QT then caught a Hurricane Rana and powerbombed Gravity on the apron. Coming back from commercial, Gravity then with a Canadian Destroyer, and that got a 2. QT with a backbreaker, flatliner combination, a little bit of a lethal combination, if you will. We had a super kick by Gravity, a second and a third. He then delivered the 21-plex, similar to his brother Bandito. That got a 2. Marshall was then up on the top buckle. Gravity then with a chest chop and an uppercut. And Gravity delivers a very nice avalanche Samoan drop onto QT Marshall. That got a 2 count. Marshall with a beautiful pop-up cutter. A very nice pop-up cutter. And a suplex powerbomb, and QT Marshall wins what was the best match of the night on AEW Rampage. Very good stuff. And that was pretty much that. That was that. Yeah, Dylan, QT Marshall is he's not a bad wrestler. He does. He just has the charisma of a gnat. Luchasaurus, he took on Ren Jones. The fans were actually chanting, "Where's your title?" And if anything, I actually do believe that that is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And that could very well cause Luchasaurus to turn on Christian Cage. It's going to be intriguing. It's going to be intriguing for sure. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Luchasaurus and Christian Cage do going into All Out. And I do hope that they keep the TNT title on Luchasaurus, because whatever Christian Cage and Luchasaurus are doing, it's a great thing. And that will result in Luchasaurus turning on Christian Cage. Hell, we could very well see Luchasaurus and Jack Perry reunite. Luchasaurus and Jack Perry reunite. And we could see Edge slide in, and it's going to be Edge and Christian versus Jurassic Express, probably at Full Gear. Why not? And then in the main event, the women with the agenda from Tony Khan again. He's trying to keep all of the marks that were really getting behind Lufisto's comments happy here. Women's match, decent little tag team match right here. The heels were in control. Statlander actually came out to take out Ruby Soho, so it looks like that is your match for AEW All Out in Chicago, which I have no issue with whatsoever. Coming back from commercial, Britt Baker was isolated. We had a tag to Sheeta. She lit up Toni Storm with a high knee. Sheeta then with a suplex to Saraya onto Toni for a 2. They traded strikes back and forth. We had an enziguri by Sheeta, German suplex by Storm on Britt Baker, hip attack on Britt Baker, assisted powerbomb. Sheeta broke it up. All 4 women were down. We had double strikes by Britt and Sheeta, a Falcon Arrow, and a rolling swinging neck breaker, but Toni saved it. Toni Storm then spray painted Sheeta in the eyes, and Sheeta was blinded. We had Britt Baker taking out Toni, and Sheeta inadvertently punched Britt Baker, not knowing it was Britt, and it resulted in Saraya coming out of nowhere, and Saraya hits the nightcap on Britt Baker to win the match 1-2-3. And afterwards, Toni Storm and Saraya, they held the championship, and they kind of had a little tug of war over it going into the Fatal 4-Way match on Sunday. Now, it does bode well for Shida. I actually like to hope that Shida will retain the championship. She should retain the championship. But there's just no heat going into this match. Now, it could be a decent wrestling match in the end, but there's just no heat. There is no heat. They have not built up this match in any way, shape, or form to have as much heat as we know it should have. All this match is a tribute match and a throwback match to the women's Fatal 4-Way match that we saw back at All In 2018. I understand what you're doing, but you got to give it more than just, oh, it's a throwback. It's a tribute match to the first All In Chicago in 2018. You got to do more than that. You got to do more. You cannot, I'm telling you, you cannot just build it off of the fact that, oh, it's a tribute. Yeah, you can have tribute matches all you want, but you got to give a sense of care to said matches. You got to give us a reason to be invested in these matches. There's really no reason to invest in this match. Could it be decent? Yeah. But they could have done a lot better job at building up the women's match for the show. Ladies and gentlemen, that was it. Rampage, not bad. Not a bad show whatsoever. Rampage has never been a bad show. I don't really understand where people come up with this notion of Rampage is a bad show. Rampage is not a bad show. It's not. The problem with Rampage is the fact that it's just not must-see. It's not. I wish it was, but it's not. That was pretty much that, and that was your week in professional wrestling. That wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash update and my debut on the PWP Nation Facebook page, and we got a hefty amount of views. We got a hefty amount of likes as well. Really, really, really good stuff, and I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. You guys have been great. Thank you to Dee Dee. Thank you to Dylan. Thank you to the Final Hoss. Thank you to Sarah. Thank you to Danielle Wolf. Thank you to everyone. You have been fantastic. Tomorrow, be ready. Be ready tomorrow, because tomorrow it is going to be the rewind for AEW All In at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to have a fun time talking about All In and dissecting everything that goes down. Check out all my links in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, be ready for next week. I'll be on the Dynamite Watch Along. We got the rundown for Payback on Tuesday and the rundown for All Out on Thursday. Plenty of good material coming to you guys as we head into the last week of August. And I'm on vacation all of next week, so you're going to be seeing a lot of DJ Shizzle Dizzle. But until tomorrow, when I come on to talk about All In, I am DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash update. But before we get out of here, I have a very, very important question for everybody here that everyone must answer. And the answer is, who runs the IWC? Who runs the IWC? Everyone should know by now who runs the IWC, and all the people on Facebook are going to be saying it as well. Who but DJ Storms? And don't you ever, ever forget it.
'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.